This is Kelsey Cook. She started this incredible business and it came out of COVID, and I wanted to share the story. So welcome, Kelsey. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you started this business and it's gone from being this tiny thing to this like big thing. And not only that, but you're a mom of four littles, right?
Yeah, 4.
You said 4 under 8?
They're not, my oldest are 9, just barely in October. So,
Oh, okay. Cool. So tell me about that, like mom entrepreneurship. You were a teacher, then you were a preschool teacher, then COVID hit. Tell me how this whole thing started out for you.
yeah, for sure. So I taught 3rd grade and then I taught kindergarten. So I was in the public school for about 6 years. And when I had my first baby, I decided to stay home and I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, okay, this is my path. This is what I want to do. And then after being home for a little bit, it was like the first day of school that I ever had where I wasn't part of it. Because, ever since kindergarten, I've either been in school or been a teacher. So I was really sad and I really missed it. And so I kind of was brainstorming, like, what can I do to still teach and still stay home? And I decided to do a preschool out of my house. So in Arizona, that's something that we have. There's a lot of people that do that in my area. So it felt like a good option. So I started teaching 2 days a week, just 2 hours a day. I had my oldest in my class, and then I had my second one, and it was so fun and I loved it. But I couldn't find a curriculum I loved, so I created my own curriculum. Everything I was doing was stuff that I had created. And then COVID happened, and we all had to close everything and stay home.
Yeah.
And so I started making packets for my preschoolers, and I would put them on my porch for their moms to do with them, and they would pick them up. And then they started sharing about them on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to make an Instagram just to kind of talk about it. And people in my neighborhood were like, well, can I get one? I'm like, okay, yeah, I could make more. So I started charging, I think I charged like $15 for them. And I would just put them out every week, a new packet with new supplies, whatever we would do. And I did this for probably 3 months and started mailing them. And I remember I was doing like 50 and thought like, this is the craziest thing ever. I would have never thought I would do 50. And then I realized like more than just like a preschool curriculum, because at that time, that's kind of what it was because of COVID. There was like this really big need for parents to be able to do activities and learning things at home with their kids without having to like search it out on Pinterest or find what's perfect for them and then gather the supplies. So I was like, okay, I think this is a thing. So I'm going to keep going. And I made it into a box, and like the rest is history. Now we set over 14,000 boxes last month, which is just wild to me. And I have a team of 22 employees, which is so crazy. And it's been so fun. And I've learned so much.
Wow. So you are, you're the dream. You're a mom and you've got so many kids.
Yes,
4
so
kids
many.
is a lot, and they're all young. And then you've started this little business that kind of grew organically. Was there ever a point where you hit where you're like, okay, this is more than I can handle, or this is getting out of hand, or was it just a slow drip and you took it all in stride?
No, there's definitely a lot of times where I was like, this is more than I can handle.
Okay.
Because also in the process of this, I had my last 2 babies. So I was either pregnant or with a newborn. And so there was a lot of like times when I thought, okay, I can't do it anymore, because I was trying to do it during nap time and bedtime. Yeah. Which in theory was like, okay, great idea. But then when do I ever stop? I never stopped. I was like either momming or doing this, or I was getting really burnt out. And my husband, he's like my number one fan, always saying like, he thought it was such a good idea. He loved it. And he's like, just if it's too much, like hire someone to help you with what you can't do, and that was really, really helpful to me. So I like learned quickly the value of having a good team and hiring people that can do what you can't, and and allowing that to be okay. Because it's hard when it's your baby that you've created, like
I was just going to ask you about that. I know I could speak for myself where I'm like, no, I'll just do it myself. I'm a mom of 5. So you end up taking on so much. And then you realize by not letting other people experience and do the work and put in the reps, they really can't do it because you haven't let them do it. It is important. There is something that's so important about letting people in and letting people help.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's like a learned skill that you have to figure out, because, I wanted to be like, okay, well, I'm giving it to you, but you're not doing this right, but you're not doing, it's like, and then it's like, hey, what's the point of hiring someone if I'm going to micromanage everything they do?
Yeah. Yeah. And there is something so beautiful because if you're the creator, then your time is freed up to go create more,
Yes,
right?
yes. Like that's kind of like been lately. Like, so my husband actually quit his job in December and has been working with me full time. And that has been one thing that I've been able to like step back and like, he says, okay, you got to stay in your thing. I'm going to protect your time. These are the things
Yeah.
that matter. Do that. And then other people will do the other things. And so he's really good at reminding me about that, which is helpful because it's hard to let go of things.
It is. Yeah. I'm so glad you have a partner that's like that.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful thing to
Yeah.
have somebody that can, kind of remind you that that's what's really necessary to grow.
Yeah, and he's kind of, he's been part of it and watched me do this whole thing. And one of my main things is I always said, like, my biggest priority is being a mom. Like,
Yeah.
being a mom is my number one thing. And so it was hard for me because I'm like, okay, I stayed home from teaching because I wanted
Mhm.
to be mom 24/7. And now this is pulling me, but I also love it. It's also
Of
something
course.
that's brought me so much joy. And like, I've been able to hire women in my warehouse that do such a great job. And it's so cool. So I had to be like, okay, I'm going to be very strict and very like protective of my time in that if it's something that doesn't serve me, I don't do it,
Yeah.
which is like a hard thing to learn. And especially I'm an oldest child. I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, so it's like been a big adjustment for me, but I think it's just made me stronger in a lot of other areas too.
Terry Cole wrote Boundary Boss, and I took so much out of that because one of the things she talks about was whether you're putting boundaries around your job or your your romantic relationship or your friendships. By putting boundaries, you're actually really doing a loving thing because
Mm-hmm.
you can just let it go and let it go and let it go until it all disintegrates and it
Mm-hmm.
ends in a bad way. Or you can put boundaries around what will actually work within your life. You're like, I am inviting you in, and the boundaries are part of the deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I love that.
you're putting boundaries around this incredible thing that you created so that it could be something that could be in your life for a really really long time, and then you're not missing out on all the good juicy stuff with your kids.
Yeah, yeah, because something that I'm so passionate about and like why I created these boxes, those 5 years before kindergarten are just like so special to me and
Special.
so magical and like years that you can never get back. So I'm creating these boxes so that parents can thrive in those years. And so I'm like, I don't want to miss out on those years either because they're so special to me. So it's been creating those boundaries has been hard, but it has helped me so much. I
Mhm.
have a nanny 2 days a week in the afternoons. And so I know that when she's here, I'm doing my work. My kids are having fun. They're well taken care of. That's kind of like, you got to let them experience other people and other things too.
Mhm.
So that's been helpful to me. And like one day a week, my husband will take my daughter and do something fun in the afternoon. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to not feel mom guilt always.
Right.
So, but I'm like, okay, he's like, no, but I like doing stuff with her too. And I'm like, okay, that's true. That's
That's
true.
true. Right.
So it's just kind of a mindset shift that you have to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting yourself in that perspective of other people can do it as well. And also, like, this time is so precious. I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, for instance, yesterday I went with my 19-year-old to help her buy her first car. She's got a great job and she's in school. She's on a great track and she needed a more reliable car. You sit in a dealership for like, unfortunately, like 3 or 4 hours. And I'm looking at her and I'm just thinking, like, I remember buckling the newborn into the little teeny seat and like sitting in the back seat and holding her head because I was afraid it kept flopping forward. And now all of a sudden she's 19, she's taller than me. I asked her to take a picture with me and I was like, hey, look at this baby picture from 19 years ago today. I was like, will you take a picture with me like that? And she's like, Mom, I'm grown. And it's true. Like, she's grown and flown and she's doing her own thing. But it is incredible how the time flies. And it
Oh
is
yeah.
so important to like leave space because there's always going to be work, right?
Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like having your own business, it's like there's always something that I can be doing. There's never not something to do.
Yeah. Do you ever get any of those things that they talk about? Like, either did you ever get, I guess you probably don't get it anymore, imposter syndrome? Like, you're like, can I really do this?
No,
Yeah.
I still definitely get it. Even now, I'm like, who am I to be selling these boxes? Like,
Yeah.
who do I think I am? And like going on a podcast or doing this thing, like I'm like, do I actually have things to share? But then I'm like, the people that I listen to, like I love hearing these stories. I love
Mhm.
hearing these moms talk about things. So I
Mhm.
have to just like push past it and say like, okay, just do it. And I think that's also why I was able to do this business is I just kind of said like, I don't care. I'm going to make a random logo. I'm going to just go for it. And the more I just go for it and figure it out, the better off I've been.
Girl, I mean, you gave me goosebumps because I'm 53 and I've done a lot of podcast interviews. And every time I set up the mic and the whole thing, I always like a little bit sweaty, a little bit like, and it's like, why do we do that to ourselves? But it's a human thing, like to second guess. I don't almost wonder it's part of like the preparation to make sure you're all ready. But yeah, I think that that's a normal thing. And I think me learning that there was something about that feeling of nervousness is the same feeling of excited. So now I tell myself, oh, I'm nervous. You know, I used to say, oh, I'm nervous to interview Kelsey. I hope that, you know, do I have everything set up just right? Do I have my questions printed out? And then I realized I'm excited. It's the same
I love
thing.
that.
I'm excited to interview this new person, get to know this new friend and hear her story and get to capture it. And in 10 years from now, this is going to be on tape for you where you're going to be like, look at who I was, you know, and you never know. So speaking of, what do you think is next for you? Like, do you have big aspirations? Or are you good where you are?
Yeah. So we're hoping our big goal this year is to get 20,000 subscribers.
Okay.
That would be really cool. That would be crazy. I mean, I have like a sticky note up on my wall of when we did 150 and I have it like circled with a star because I was like, this is crazy. We'll never be past there. So just having that end goal, like it's so great for me. And then I also just having my husband work with me was like one of my huge goals that I was able to accomplish. So that feels like a big accomplishment that I'm just still riding the high on.
Yeah. When you think about him working with you, that means you have autonomy over your time. He has time autonomy too. You're going to grow up on the pool deck with your kids or on the baseball fields or at the play or whatever, and you can kind of shape your life around those 4 kids. It really makes a huge difference to how your kids get to experience their childhood when mom and dad are really available.
Yeah, it's so great because we're done. No matter what, we're always done. We're trying to be done at 4 so that once my boys are home from school, we're on. And then he takes my boys to school. It's like just such a different thing that we're able to experience. And it's been so great.
Okay. So tell me this, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you had in scaling your business? Because you didn't, 14,000 boxes in a warehouse is not where you started from, clearly.
So no, we were like going around my kitchen island. I have like videos of us doing that with our papers. But yeah, I feel like the hardest thing for us was quick growth, which seems like that should be like the greatest thing, that's what you want. But it was like so much so fast that we were trying to keep up with and trying to, ordering 100 paint cups and then ordering 15,000 is such a huge difference. Like just learning like these little things that I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. That doesn't fit in there. We could do that when we did 100 boxes, but now that doesn't make sense for 500, And so just little changes and then adding to a team is hard, it's hard. Hiring is hard. And so making sure we have people that are aligned with what we want to do and believe in it. And all of that has been a big transition. And like we had last month we've been pretty good. We've been getting better, but last month we didn't order enough boxes. And so that's like our main thing is they go in the box. And we were like, okay, we don't have these cute boxes. And this has happened before. And at first we're like, oh, it's no big deal. But then people will say, well, why didn't mine come in a cute box? Well, I saw a cute, and so I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? And I was talking with my team. My sister actually works with me and we were saying, okay, what can we do? And my sister was like, well, what if we sent them markers and we told them to design their own box this month? It's a little different. We give them a little note, tell them we're so sorry we don't have enough, but we're going to send you an extra set of markers and design your own box. And then another girl on my team was like, okay, and then what if we did a contest and they could send in their pictures of their boxes and we'll pick a winner. And so we did that. I know. And I was like, I would have never thought of this on my own. It's so smart, but it was like such a great way to, even though we had this mishap, just keep going and like make it something fun.
100%. That is amazing. And I think that that's a true testament to like, that's why you need to have good people on your team. That's why, 10 heads are better than one because you have people telling you that. What do you think surprised you most about stepping into entrepreneurship?
All of the things that you are in charge of. I like, because like as a teacher, I'm like, okay, my job is teaching. But as an entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, I'm doing finance. I'm doing payroll. I'm doing ordering. I'm doing purchasing. It's like so many different things. And so at first it was really overwhelming. And then I kind of have a personality type where it's like, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to just figure it out. And so I like to say, like, I'm so good at Google. I'm the queen of it, Googling. So I'm like, how do you make a website? How do you do this? So like,
Mhm.
if I can do it, anyone can do it. And
Yeah.
I just didn't take no for an answer. And I just kept going until I figured it out. And so I've learned a lot of different things. We need even have someone that we work with now that sources items for me. And in China, some of the items that he sources, and I'm like, I would have never thought I would
Right.
connect with that, but I just kind of crowdsourced ideas and said, hey, does anyone know someone that can help me with boxes? And a friend that I knew from college said, oh, I know someone. And we connected, and then that's it. Because my team used to pump paint into cups and like little, I'm trying to think like how to explain, like little like dressing cups, you know, like with a lid.
Yep.
So they would go through the line and like pump paint, and it would take us days to do that. And then I was working with this sourcing agent, and he's like, well, I think I can get you that exact same paint, but in a bottle if you
Yeah.
want. And I was like, a bottle of paint. So it ended up being like the same price, if not a little cheaper. And it came, and my team was like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like the best day ever. They're like, we don't have to pump paint. But it's like that stuff that I would have never learned. I'm just learning as I go.
Yeah, 100%. I think while I'm talking to you, what came to mind for me is that your special sauce that you have is that you sort of have that like Nemo Dory, like just keep swimming. Like
Yes.
you're like, I'm just stepping through the next day and I'm going to find out how to do this next thing. And
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like you're really caught up in perfectionism. It's just like things just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah, and it's like funny because I feel like I'm a perfectionist, but I'm not in this area, which is so weird. Like I didn't even think twice about what I was naming my business. I was just like, oh, Learn with Kelsey. Like it's like
Yeah.
literally my name.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
Easy.
maybe I should have thought a little harder about it. But it's like I just am able to go with it on certain things. And I think you're right. Like just keep doing it.
Speaking of learning with Kelsey, you
Yeah.
have a teaching background. So how do you go about coming up with new ideas for kiddos?
Yeah, so it started with just my curriculum that I did for preschool. So I
Yeah.
really wanted a hands-on curriculum. So everything that I did was really hands-on. And then when people were doing it, they said like, "Okay, what do I do with my 2-year-old?" And like the difference in a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old is so big. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I see something that's for 2 to 4-year-olds, I'm like, "No, it's not. It can't be
Mm-hmm.
for all of them." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, I do need something different." And luckily, I've had, as you know, I have so many children, so they're all like I've been able to test it on them. So
Yeah.
I would pull activities and say, let's try this. And that created the toddler box, which is actually our best selling box now. And it's for 2 to 3-year-olds. So I have taken kind of my knowledge from teaching and then my knowledge from being a mom and trying activities to help me come up with them. But I love a theme.
Mm-hmm.
So every month is a different theme. And that kind of makes it easier to come up with activities because I'm following a theme. But like sometimes I'll
Yeah.
pull something to do with my kids and I'll start to do it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. This is not a good one. We can't put this in the box. It's not fun
Yeah.
for mom. It's too messy. Or, my
Yeah.
kids hate it. They're done in 1 minute. So being able to test with them has been really
Oh,
good
yeah,
also.
for sure. And then on the business side, the entrepreneur side, how did you go about figuring out like, how do I do a subscription? Was that a difficult thing for you or intimidating at all? Or was
Yeah, it
that you
was.
Googled it?
No, I did Google it, but it was really, yeah, it was hard and intimidating. And like, so I did it for like, I'm trying to think, we did it for a year where it was on a website that kind of was a janky website I had created, and I was on Instagram. And then someone reached out to me, a mom that bought one of my boxes that was also owned a marketing agency. And she was like, hey, I think I could help you with your boxes. Like, I would love to get on a call with you. And so I got on a call with her and I really liked her and she helped me. Like they rebranded. I got like the colors that I have now. That I had never done like brand fonts or brand
Mhm.
anything. So they really helped me with that. And then they helped me kind of like get more of like a business plan in place, because at this
Mhm.
point I kind of just was flying by the seat of my pants, just like figuring
Right.
it out. And so they helped me kind of like hone in on what is your plan? Where do you see yourself going? And that was huge for me. So we worked
Yeah.
with them for about 2 years and it was like such a great help and really helped me to scale to where we are now.
Yeah. And that really speaks to how important it is to call in people. I mean, you called her in by your product and she's like, hey, I think I
Hmm.
can help you. But to be able to call in people that are not smarter than you, but that are further
But
along in
yeah.
a certain area than you in a subject, maybe smarter in a certain subject,
Hmm.
because we really need, why should we scratch and claw
Yeah.
trying to learn something when we could get somebody that would help us?
Yeah. And to not be afraid, to reach out to somebody that maybe seems bigger or better than you because they have such knowledge that they can help you. I even, like at my very beginning of doing this, I had a friend of a friend DM me and say, hey, I think you should make this a business. And that's also kind of what like kickstarted me. And she owned a sock business. She sold like kids socks, and she's like, do you want to go to dinner? And I just kind of want to tell you what I think you could do. And so I went to her and she's like, you could do it. She's like, you can make a business out of this. And I think it would go really well. And I was like, I don't think I can. And she's like, I think you really can. And that was like such a small thing, but it like gave me so much confidence in like, okay, I think I actually could do it because, you know, you, like you said, it's like imposter syndrome. You just like to tell yourself, I'm not good enough. I'm not big enough. I don't know enough. But hearing it from other people. So I feel like I've always tried to be really like open that this isn't, I'm not some genius that did this, but like anyone can if you just want to like put your mind to it and try and work. And so I think like surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs, other business owners that think the same things is also really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. The inspiration that comes from something like that. I just was thinking about that butterfly effect and how that girlfriend of a girlfriend reached out to you and took you to dinner and kind of like, you know, was the angel on your shoulders. You can do this, speaking that into your ear. And then through, obviously through podcasts that you go on or your everyday life or whatever's going on in your social media, you're doing the same thing for other people who might feel like, oh, you know, I don't really everyone has gifts to offer the world. And it's so important to remember that not everybody wants to, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a teacher or, you know, being a firefighter or whatever, or being a stay-at-home mom. But if someone has that desire, I think it's so cool to hear from somebody like you that is just like, hey, I just put in the work. That's all there is to it. I just put in the work and kept showing up.
Yeah. And it took a long time, you know, like not it. I know in like general, like, okay, 4 years of a business isn't that long, but like for 3 years, I didn't make any money on it, you know? So it's like for 3 years, I was putting everything back into it. And I had to just kind of have faith that this was going to go somewhere. And like, I loved it. I believed in it. And I loved the people that were working for me. And so I'm like, I'm going to make it work. But it's not a quick, like, okay, next day I'm making money, you know? Next day I have 100,000 followers. It's been like slow and steady, but just keep showing up and keep doing it.
Yeah. You're consistent. Yeah. Tell me about the feedback that you get from your families that use these products.
It's so fun to see my products in action. Like that has been so surreal to me to have people tag me on Instagram and like see them sitting down and doing these things with their kids. But one of my favorites that I got recently was a mom just sent me a message with pictures of her kid doing the activities and said like, I just have to tell you, these have changed my life because I had my second baby and I've had postpartum depression. And I just felt like I couldn't do anything with my older kid. I didn't know what to do. I was feeling like I lost this connection with him. And now every day we have an activity that we do together. And every day we have time together and I don't have to think about it. And that would just like really hit home to me. It like makes me a little emotional because I'm like, I've been there. You know, we've all been there as moms. Like when you have your next baby, you've spent all these years like with your first baby that you've done everything with, and they're your buddy and they're your best friend. And then you add another one and it's just a huge shift, you know? And you just think like, okay, I'm letting the other one down because I'm spending more time with the baby, but you're not, you know, number one, you're not, but number two, it's just so nice to have something that I felt like I contributed something so small, but like it made such a big difference for her.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's one of several stories like that because I know I went through postpartum and it rocked my world, you know, and it was so unpredictable. I had 5 kids, but postpartum with 2 and totally showed up differently.
Yeah. You know? I had the same thing.
I'm like, oh, I'm all prepared for this next round of postpartum. And it was just totally different.
You know, as moms, we already are judging ourselves so harshly.
Yeah.
The postpartum is like really rude because it makes us like.
It's really rude. Sucks. Yes. Did you feel like there were any moments where you're like, forget it, let's just close this whole thing down? Or have you always been?
No, there's been a lot. There's been a lot of moments. My husband would probably be like, yeah, there's a lot of this.
Yeah.
But with something that's like so dumb, but it shows you how much criticism can affect you is like, in the beginning, I was doing my customer service, you know, and I would get emails and I got a few that like were very mean emails. Like they hated the activities. They hated the boxes. And they were so mad. And it was like, it was so hard for me because it was so personal to me. You know, I'm like, this isn't Amazon where you're just ordering a random thing. Like I put my heart and soul into these. And so I had to say like, I'm like, okay, we're done. Everyone hates our boxes. We're not doing boxes anymore. These are
Yeah.
stupid. Nobody likes them. And I had to be like, okay, that's not true. I have people on my team that are like, please don't close. We love doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is something that I can't be a part of. I cannot do customer service. And I just
Yeah.
know that about myself. I can't.
Mhm.
I even like tried to have my sister do it, and she was even more defensive of me. And so we're like, none of us can do customer service. We're all out of it. So like I outsourced it, to a girl that works remote, and she's amazing and she does so great. But it's just so much better for me not to see that, because there's always going to be people that are unhappy. There's
Of
always going to
course.
be people that don't like you, that think you're dumb, that think what you're doing is stupid. And so I had to really not think about that and not look at that and focus on the good. But it is hard because the mad voices are way louder than the
I
happy
know.
voices.
And why do we give that so much attention? Like that
I
beautiful
know.
story that you told first about the woman who had postpartum and how you've really changed the trajectory of her mothering during that
Uh-huh.
time. And then some butthole basically that wants
Literally.
to, oh, I don't like your box. Okay, well, whatever. Then
Yeah.
unsubscribe.
Yeah, literally. And I'm like, I can say that to every other person about anytime any of my friends like, oh, they hate. I'm like, well, they're dumb. But then with me, I'm like, well, I don't know anything. These are the stupidest boxes. Just get
Yeah,
rid of them.
I know. We just take it to it's a human condition, but
Yes. Yes.
what do you feel like you've learned about yourself during this journey? What has surprised you, like the strength that's come out in you? Or because I'm sure, 6 years ago, you weren't like, hey, I'm going to be this box maven and I'm going to be
No.
changing families' lives. And then I'm going to also have these employees and I probably need to set up a retreat for all of my employees. You didn't see yourself that way, right?
No.
And this is a
No.
totally different life. What have you learned about yourself along the way?
I love that question.
Yeah.
So 6 years ago, my oldest was 3, my youngest was 1, and I just had 2 kids. And I was at the very beginning of my motherhood, and I think I was not confident at all in myself, in my choices. And that was something that was hard for me because I felt kind of out of my depth. Like I had spent being a teacher, it was easy for me to feel confident and feel like I knew what I was doing. And then going to being a mom, I'm like, I thought I would know what to do and I don't. And it's so scary. You have these people that are all reliant on you. And like I'm their spokesperson. I have to be confident enough to say, I don't like that. I don't want that. And so that was really hard for me. And as I've grown in my business, I think my confidence has grown so much, like exponentially. Like being a boss was not something that came easily to me. It was hard for me to be a boss and to be in charge and have to have like hard conversations or, have people that I'm bringing on or that I'm letting go or whatever. That was
Yeah.
really, really hard for me. But I've kind of grown into myself more. And I do also think it's my age. Like being over 30 has been the greatest thing ever. Like I know people are like scared to turn 30, but it was the best because
Yeah.
I feel like I know who I am and I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to take it, to say no to things, to say what I want. I mean, it still is a little out of my comfort zone, but I've gotten so much better at it.
What would you say to somebody that was like you were, who's just starting out in motherhood and maybe you feel a little meek and a little overwhelmed, but you have this gift that you want to share, but you're having a hard time believing in yourself? What would you say to a girl like that, like maybe a little sister or something like
I think I would say just go for it. I think I would say you're the only one that can do that. You're whatever your talent is, whatever you're great at, like it's yours. And so own it and go for it. And I think it's the
that?
same thing with motherhood. Like these babies are your babies. They're meant to be yours. They're here for you. You know what's best for them. And so trust yourself and believe in it. And I think the way you get better is by doing it. So you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Say the thing that you maybe are nervous to say. And the more you do that, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah. Speak it, girl. That's so good. I mean, sometimes I wish there was like some of that would have. I'm sure people told me stuff like that, but I wish I would have been more able to absorb it in those early years of parenting, because there is something so tender about that time where you're like, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Everything seems so new and so challenging and
And
kind
like
of,
such a big deal.
yeah, like such a big deal. And it really, with any luck, everybody survives and
Yeah.
they get, they grow up and they're healthy, happy.
Yeah. And you look back and you're like, I was doing a good job.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you're so hard on yourself, but like I think everyone is doing so much better than they think they are.
Yeah.
And so having people that maybe remind you of that, or
Right.
like that you can look to give you advice, I think is really helpful too.
Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on today. That was super fun. And I'm like all goosebumpy because of, you should be a public speaker. You've got a lot of great things to say. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I can't wait to share this with everyone. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was so fun.
And can you tell me really quickly if people want to subscribe, where they would go?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Learning with Kelsey, and I share a lot of like free tips and ideas on there. And then if you want to subscribe to a box, you can go to learningwithkelsey.com.
That's so awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.